On this episode of Burn the Wagon, we're calling this one Celebrating Indigenous Life. My guest, Lee, aka Mealhead Arts, comes on to talk about his tribe's culture, community engagement, and the journey he's had photographing the punk scene. Thank you for listening. Peace and love. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Burn the Wagon podcast, where we're here to burn the wagon that is capitalism, patriarchy, and colonialism. Today, my guest is Lee from Mealhead Arts, right? Yeah,
That's
yep.
it. No,
All
that's
right,
it.
cool.
Nailed it.
I was like, I tried my best. But yeah, we're gonna go get going on a prayer, and then we'll get going on the questions that we got going in the dope conversation we got. Because, like I said, your art is super dope. So got a lot of questions about that. But first, I want to send love to anybody out there suffering from domestic violence issues. I want to send love to anyone suffering from mental health issues. I want to send love to our unhoused community. I want to send love to our land that we stand on today. And I come to you from Pomo territory. I want to send love to any of our relatives out in the Congo, Sudan, and Palestine that is suffering from the genocide that is occurring today. Thank you for joining us. Like I said, my guest today is Lee. And I'm just gonna go like I always started off with what tribes or tribe you're from, and I'm just gonna let
hmm
you take it from there.
So I'm Cayuse, part of the Confederated Tribes of the Umatilla Indian Reservation, and I stay out here in Pendleton, right next to the reservation. But grew up in Portland, spent a lot of time in Portland, and a lot of the cities just kind of moved home to live on the res and work for my tribe 3 years ago.
Okay, cool. So you said Pendleton, so everybody hears that and thinks of that
That's it. I mean, that's where it's made. It's made here.
okay.
There's a huge rodeo that happens every year. It's Pendleton Roundup. So I mean, like that's one of my favorite things is like a photojournalist to cover is Pendleton Roundup. I mean, like it's a huge kind of like a cultural melting pot between like cowboys and Indians types. Like it's crazy to see. We have like the teepee village and like everybody's got their regalia and then they do dancing in the arena during the rodeo. So I feel like it's kind of like a rodeo that definitely makes sure to include like the indigenous roots of this land. So that's just really cool to see.
That's tight, honestly. So the rodeo is not put on by your tribe at all.
I mean, like like we do like support it like financially or like with like sponsorships. But it is definitely like it's put on by the Pendleton Roundup Committee and stuff. So
That's tight, honestly, because that's something I didn't really think about is like tapping in with native like bull riders or like you know what I mean, folks that do that type of stuff. Have you ever been able to like tap into that, or are you mainly like have you been able to like photograph that more?
I've mostly photographing it. I mean, like there's a few times where I got to meet like some of like the professional bull riders that are native or like one of my favorite things at the rodeo is the Indian relay races, which is like where they do the horses and like that's some of the craziest like I don't know, it's pretty acrobatic, you know what I'm saying? It's like crazy to
Oh, like
watch.
bareback and shit too, right?
Yeah, it's wild. It looks like it's so crazy to me, but
That's tight. So, you said the Umatilla?
yeah, Confederated Tribes of the Umatilla Indian Reservation, and it's Cayuse, Walla Walla, and Umatilla. Uh,
Okay.
so it's like three different tribes that during or well, our treaty was in 1855, but like it was just the tribes in the area, and we banded together for like our treaty rights.
I see. And that's all one tribe, it's three different tribes?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So each tribe doesn't have their own like council.
No, we would have it's just one like a council like we have like our board of trustees and then like our general council and stuff like that. But then there's
I
also
see.
like hereditary chiefs of the certain tribes, like Umatilla, Walla Walla, and Cayuse. So
I see. Yeah, there's a couple of reses around here that's one res, but it's seven different tribes. So it's kind of like that, you know what I mean?
yep.
That's a trip. One thing I did want to add is Pendleton native owned?
The company,
Yeah.
I don't believe the company is, but like I know that like they've done a lot with our community, and like they continue to do like a lot with our community, and so there was like that kind of that touch and go moment where people were not sure on whether or not they support like Pendleton Woolen Mills and stuff like that, but like honestly, just knowing that like the things that they've done with our community in the past and continue to do, like I really don't have any issue supporting Pendleton as a brand or anything like that.
All right, cool. Because I was one of those people that was like, I don't know how I
Well,
feel
it was
about it.
like it was hard to see, and like I only know this because I had to like look into it because like living in this town and like like the original woolen mills is like right next to me, so I was just like, I gotta know like what's up with this. You know what I mean? Like, I had to figure it out for myself too. So
Yeah. All right. Cool. Now I feel a lot better about because I mean they got sick shit. Like let's be
they
honest,
do, they
they
do.
got really dope shit. Like and my cousin did this a while back. He kind of like took one of their blankets and put it on some overalls.
Yeah,
Dude, it looked sick. Like it was
I have
dope.
a well. I'll grab it. It's kind of a sneak preview. It's a piece that I'm working on right now, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll give you a little preview of it.
Yeah.
But so
Oh
it's a
heck yeah.
denim jacket, but I took a Pendleton and uh
That's
sewed it onto the
tight.
jacket and then put studs over it. But yeah, it's something I'll probably use for like a prop in like photos or something.
Okay.
Um,
And then okay, let's start that conversation because
oh
that's
yeah,
something that yeah, because it's come up a little bit and yeah, so like I always like to ask this question with like people and their passions, right? Like who was that first person to either put that camera or whatever it was that made you follow this path?
so kind of kind of like a mix of things, right? Like I started painting, and then like I did like a lot of painting, and eventually I wanted to. I was going on a bison hunt at Yellowstone, and I really wanted to like take pictures of it. It was just kind of like an emotional thing for me, specifically like my brother before he passed went on like a bison hunt and stuff like that. So like going on this trip was like, I don't know, it was like a big deal to me. So I wanted to do some photos, and I feel like the photos I got were like, I don't know, like I guess they were pretty good. My little sister, she's a journalist as well, saw my photos and she was like, what the fuck? Like, you got to take this, like, you know what I mean? Like, you got to take photography more seriously. Like, these are crazy photos. And I was, so, it was crazy. But, like a huge, drive has always been, like just trying to capture, um, I don't know, the emotion in something when I'm seeing it, you know what I mean? And so, like, that's really, I feel like what lends itself well to like a good photo, is like being able to capture the emotion behind it. So, but yeah, definitely that Yellowstone trip was like, that was, and like, even to this day, like if I get like a good photo, I get a kind of like a sinking feeling, like a fault, like a little rush where you're just like, oh damn, like that's a good photo. You know what I mean? And like, um, there was one in particular that I got when I was on Yellowstone on the bison hunt, and it was my cousin Tommy. He was he was pulling up some bison meat and like hanging it in the back of his truck. But the way that he like was holding the ropes, like it was just like the way the light looked on it and everything. I was just like, oh my god, like that's crazy. You know what I mean? Like, but I feel like those are things that you see that unless you're like specifically looking for them to document like with a photo, that like you don't see, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't register at the time of what you're looking at, you know what I mean? So I feel like there's a lot of intention behind photography.
That's and have you ever posted those pictures from that Yellowstone trip?
I did. I did a long time ago. When I went on that trip, I guess that was about 3 years ago. So not that long.
Oh, okay.
I mean, in Instagram years, that's like 7 years, right? Like
That's hella long ago.
right. That's what I'm saying. Like it's tough.
That's
Like
MySpace days. Not just kidding.
that's what I'm saying. It's like dog years for like it was old. It's talking 3 years ago.
I know. But that's tight. I mean, like, so you did you get were you able to get a bison that trip as well?
Yes. Yeah, we were able to bring some meat home. And when I tell you it was a lot of meat, like it was a lot of work, right? But like the amount of meat that comes like from that, like I feel like up until I don't know, like well up until roundup, so September, so from like the beginning of March until September, I had bison meat in my freezer. Um, Shout out to Tommy and Cola for bringing me on that hunt though. That was probably the coolest thing I've ever done.
That's tight. And are you planning to do that again? And also, like, I just wanted to say, people don't realize how fucking big bison is. Like,
I feel like I didn't, you know what I mean? And, didn't seeing them, I was like, God damn, it's just like a bus. You know, like
yeah, dude,
it's
they're
a meat
fucking
bus.
huge.
Yeah, they're big. They're big as hell.
And then,
Um,
so yeah, are you able to go back on the trip again, or is that like some like once in a while like type thing?
well, I know that this upcoming year, we kind of missed it this time. It just didn't work out with like my schedule. Because it's really dependent on like when they move out of the park. When it like for it to be huntable, you know what I mean? So like it's kind of like with any of like like fishing seasons or you know what I mean? Like it's gonna happen when it happens, and
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like it's hard to plan for it when it's like when its timeline is its own. It's a
yeah.
living timeline. So, but I think this upcoming year, now that my brother lives home back here on the reservation as well, we're probably gonna try and go together. So that'll be
That's
dope.
tight. And I wanted to jump back to photography. Are you mainly doing like nature type stuff, or are you like kind of all over the place?
I mean, nature stuff. I do a little bit of nature stuff. Really, mostly what I do is like street photography, lifestyle stuff. You know what I mean? So like, I shoot a lot of powwows. It's like some of my favorite stuff to catch. You know what I mean? Like just especially like seeing the pride on like our people's faces at
Dude.
powwows and stuff. It's one of the best feelings. Other than that, I hang out with like skinheads and like you know what I mean, like rocker fools and shit like that. So like I do a lot of like that style photography as well. Whether or not it's at a barbecue or at a show or just like at a bar in the city or whatever.
Yeah, I saw that on your page. Also, I saw a lot of like a couple like black and white shots that were
hmm
super tight, dude. Like that black and white style is super tight.
Black and white is probably my favorite. Like I don't know. It's I feel like when it's like like I I like colored photos also, but I
Hmm.
feel like when there's like a strong message behind a photo, like black and white is the best way to convey that. You know what I mean? Like because it kind of takes away everything but that message. You know what I mean? Like homeboy that was down at the Real Base Shit Fest, wearing the "No one is illegal on stolen land." You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's the type of shirt that like, or that's the type of photo that like I really just want to focus on that like that bright white lettering. You know what I mean? Like kind of just like puts a period at the end of that statement. So
Yeah, I saw that shit, and that one was tight. And like you said, that lettering just just like really pops.
yeah, yeah, and it's part of that is like turning up the highlights and the white and making sure that that's like you know what I mean? Like it's a little bit more pronounced than it was, I guess. But
Yeah, I really like that style too. And you said you used the term skinheads. I feel like a lot of people hear that term, right, and will just think like racist piece of shit, like you
sure,
racist. So
yeah.
yeah, I just wanted myself and hopefully the listeners get educated on what that term is.
Well, so I guess like kind of like my origin to like skinhead like subculture. Um, I was like 13 years old. I was at a laundromat on 13th and Belmont over in like southeast Portland, and I met some old native dude. He was like 40 something years old, right? And like I had like a little like I don't know like nail polished painted like Dead Kennedys patch on like a jacket that I had, you know. Felt fucking super punk, and this old native dude was like, "Oh yeah, right on, man! Like Dead Kennedys, like fucking Nazi punks, fuck off." And I was just like, "Yeah, yeah, right on." And then you know, I was like talking to him for a little bit, and he was talking about like, you know, like fighting Nazis like back in the 80s and stuff like that, and like, you know, being a skinhead. And I was just like, "Oh man, like I thought skinheads were like, you know, because like my original run-in with skinheads was in Bonners Ferry, Idaho, during the Ruby Ridge standoff with you know, I don't know if you ever heard about that, but there was like a big white nationalist standoff with like um the FBI and and, like huge thing back in the 90s. But I lived in a town that was 3 miles from where that was happening. And so there's all these Nazi skinheads in our town. I remember clear as day these guys calling me and my little sister half breeds as we were going into Circle K. Like it was crazy,
Fuck.
crazy shit. So you know, like I had already like heard the term skinhead, but like it was really not like you know not like what I was hearing from this native dude talking about skinhead. And then you know I got shaved in when I was 17 years old by a Jewish fella named Gabe. That was a trip. You know, like our first, like I just freshly got shaved into being a skinhead, like anti-racist, like you know, like reggae and you know, like this the culture came from like reggae and like mixed race anyway. So like black it comes from black culture. And then it kind of like morphed into like this whites only thing, like um which is like I guess like what grabbed a lot of attention, right? Um but yeah, dude, it was you know, skinhead culture is really crazy. It's something that I like, you know, I'm really proud of as far as like, you know, being a part of it. Um Within recent years, you know, like I, you know, as far as like having a shaved head goes, I just, you know, as a native person who like my, you know, my hair is part of my culture, is part of my traditions. Um, I didn't feel like I needed to make that, you know, make that conscious decision to shave my head to be a part of a subculture. That, you know, like if my hair is part of like my culture and traditions, I shouldn't have to, you know, adhere to, I have to shave my head to be a part of like this subculture. Um, but you know, like that was it was crazier when I was younger. It was you know, being violently opposed to racism was pretty radical, and you know, got stabbed about it, got beat with crowbars about it, got my ribs broken about it. You know, just like you know, you catch an ass whipping every now and again, but it reminds you of why you're doing it. You know what I mean? It gets you back up on your feet too. So um, that was you know that was you know, I feel lucky that these days I'm doing a lot more art than I'm doing knocking out Nazis. But like, you know, it's oh with the current administration, who knows what's on the horizon because you know you just have these guys popping up out of the woodwork. Um, but you know, that's something that I'll probably never put down. Uh, and you know, it's just something that is worth fighting about to me.
Yeah. Because I mean, people probably like think of skinhead and they think of, oh shit, American History X, or like
Sure.
shit like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
where it's just like it's a, it's a movie version of what like, or Hollywood's version of what a skinhead is, right?
Right. Exactly.
Because yeah, like I mean, I've seen a couple videos here and there, like kind of explaining, but never gotten like a full like. And obviously, it's different, like kind of like probably at like different places, but like, yeah, it's a trip to like be able to learn. And then you saying like be like shaved in by a Jewish skinhead, like you know what I mean? That like
Right.
that's
Actually,
a trip.
I know quite a few like Jewish skinheads, you know what I mean? And like that's you know, that's like one of the cool things about the subcultures, you know what I mean? Like it's such like like it's such like a melting pot of like, like there's, like whole entire like skinhead scenes in like Thailand, and you know what I mean? Like it's just one of those subcultures that kind of like grew up and like, held on. You know what I mean? Like and like people really adhere to like the I don't know, like the structural, like what really like formed like the subculture itself. People really hold on to like those guidelines, from like the way you crease or the way you cuff your pants, or the way you lace your boots, and like you want to make sure that you're looking good when you're, what I mean, like getting dressed down. Otherwise you just look like a goof to anybody that knows anything about the subculture. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah,
Like you got like huge, like huge cuffs in your pants, you're out here looking like a nerd, dude. It's like it's fun, it's aggressive, and you know what I mean, like it's wild, and like all the skinhead dudes that I know, um near and far, dude, there's there's no one way to be like a certain kind of skinhead, you know what I mean? Like it's left and right and freaking like all this other stuff. There's communist, anarchist skinheads, you know what I mean? Like there's so many different like
yeah,
kinds of skinhead, but like, as long as you're not a racist dickhead, like that's really the only thing that, me and my homies care about.
yeah, exactly. Like it's a trip. You talked about like the not to just straight being open, right? Like out here, we're in the boondocks, but like I feel like the racism is like they'll say it like when you already walked by right to their friend, they'll call you the N word or like they won't. It was not direct. It's like never ever direct. And like the rednecks out in the woods will just like say shit out there, but never to your face.
Yeah, no, I mean that's kind of how it was, you know, like growing up on a in a town next to a reservation, you know what I mean? Like um or like spending time in a town next to her. Nobody's gonna say, like crazy shit to your face. They're gonna say a lot of shit behind your back, but in Portland, it was very different, you know what I mean? Like, but it was kind of like more on site just because like, a lot of the times those fools would backpedal even, they'd be wearing a blood and honor shirt with like, like the little Volksfront thing on their, on their shit, and like you call them out and then they're like, oh no, I found that at Goodwill or something. You know what I'm saying? Like some crazy shit, dude. Like, uh, but then like you just didn't, we didn't. A lot of the times there was no time to explain why you're wearing a Nazi shirt. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah. Yeah. Well,
yeah. So
that's something I'm like I'm starting to see on TikTok and like Instagram and shit. Is like you're saying, like people will like be wearing shirts with this like a punk band and not even realize there's hella Nazi fucking symbols all over the shirt.
right, yeah. I mean, like that's kind of the thing. Like it. It's like the same thing as like everybody wants to like that wants to do like the Antifa stuff. You know what I mean? Like you have to educate yourself about like these subcultures. You know what I mean? Like I have a big crucified skinhead tattoo on my arm, and had these kids ask me if I was a Nazi at like a rally in downtown Portland. And I was just like, "What is like me? Like, no, I'm not a Nazi, dude." You know what I mean? Like, I mean, thanks for asking. Like, it's important to ask, but you know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like, no, hell no. I'm a
fuck
big
that.
Indian, dude. Like, uh, but no, it's definitely important to be like educated on like the subculture that you're going to be a part of, like you're going to choose to be a part of, because I feel like a lot of the younger generation these days, a lot of them go into these subculture spaces with the expectation of making it bend to the way they perceived it, you know what I mean, when like that's not what it is, you know what I mean, like it's just it's existed for this long because it's gone unchanged, you know what I mean, like
Yeah,
not like a less radical way or like not accepting, but like you know what I mean, like the guidelines are pretty standard. You know what
yeah,
I mean? Like
yeah,
don't blow up the spot, like don't be a kook. Like
yep,
you know what I mean? Like don't be a weirdo. I
yeah,
mean be
yeah,
a weirdo, but not like a
yeah.
not like a drama weirdo. Like you
Yeah.
can be a weirdo all you want.
Yeah, I like that because like you said, there's certain shit that should stay the same, and then we should be able to like change for other shit, like you know what I mean, like the homophobia, like because I grew up with like a lot of like homies like on the res, like trying to instill homophobia in me and transphobia and just like all these types of things, right? But I think like for the other shit, like you're saying, just like racist, being a racist piece of shit, that always should be to stay the same.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And you talked about like being on the punk scene, right? Is there any native punk bands that you really listen to?
Oh man. Well, there's the big one right now. It's 1876. Those are definitely the homies. Shout out Gabe. Wow. That's my guy though, really. Like I've been around Gabe for, like the Portland area for a grip, dude. And then like as far as like, like hardcore, it's like the homies from like End of Days and Peace Pipe, and there's another couple bands like Land Lost out of the Northwest, and Inside You from Oklahoma. It's just like it's so crazy to see, where we're at. You know what I mean? With like so much like native engagement in subculture. Um, Growing up, like in like the punk rock scene, and like, when I was younger, it was like the Drunk Engines, and it was a bunch of white guys. You know what I mean? So like, so I mean, like the representation wasn't really there. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like it was just so to see like all this representation right now, and like, like hear like the story that these guys are like, like putting out for everybody, just like with their music and like with their lyrics and like, the passion behind it and shit. Like it straight up blows my mind. You know what I mean? Like um some of the best stories I've heard come out of like native hardcore. So
that's hella tight because I'm not realizing that the native communities all over the map. There's a pretty big like people that are into the punk scene, like you know what I mean, heavily. And
yeah,
I
yeah.
never really thought about that like before, like how many people are like into this like you're saying these subcultures of like the punk scene.
Well, I feel like there's like there's like that whole like I don't know, I guess expectation that we're gonna play sports, or we're gonna,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like we're gonna do art, but it's like a very specific kind of art, you know what I mean? And like all of that stuff is still great for our community, and it's still important that we continue to, like do these things and, like live that way. But like it's also, you know, subculture, skateboarding, punk rock, hardcore, like all that is a wonderful alternative to getting hooked on drugs. You know what I mean? Like you're
100%.
you're still an active member of your community. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to, fall into like these guide or like I don't know, roles that
Yeah,
we're expected to. You know what I mean? Like you don't have
that's
to.
a big reason why I started this podcast, dude, because like I wanted to highlight like how many different people exist in our communities.
Yep, exactly, dude. I
It's
feel
not
like.
yeah, go ahead, my bad.
Oh no, no. I was just gonna say I feel like, like our differences really help us understand more about each other. You know what I mean? Like really that we're not a monolith, and seeing like, you know what I mean? Like, like seeing like the bright side of everything, dude. I feel like we're so used to the media, really showcasing like, you know what I mean? Like the down and out reservation, you know what I mean? Like the the cars and the alcoholism and the
Mhm.
drug addiction and like the sad, like oh my god. But it's like having native people in charge of that narrative, we're able to, shift the focus on like, like the parts of our community that really keep us living here together. Like if the reservation was as bad as, like the media made it seem, nobody would want to live here, dude. But like, like you have community here, you have your family here, you have opportunities here that don't exist other places, and that's why we stay here.
That's why I moved back because I lived like 4 hours south, right, from where I on the res where I grew up for 10 years, and just like I just missed it. I miss the ceremonies. I miss my cousins. I miss just the aunties' laughs. Like I just it so like you said. I think you said this earlier. We talk about like the bad things, right? The car, the drugs, alcohol, but like we don't like we hardly ever talk about like the auntie's laughters, like, you know what I mean,
Straight up.
the breakfast, like the breakfast laughs that you're having the next morning after sitting up all night or whatever it may be, you know what I mean? Like
Yep.
there's so much joy in our communities that we don't highlight and we don't talk about.
Right. And I feel like that's probably like, that's one of my favorite things about like my job and like um like being able to like like take video of like like our different ceremonies, or not ceremonies, but like our powwows or like celebrations, um and really like do the like photography and videography for my tribe, and like being able to see this stuff, and like what I mean, like I get to be around like our people when it's like the happiest, you know what I mean, and like uh being able to share that with tribal members that don't live on reservation, or like what I mean, like
Yeah.
that are only seeing what we have through our social media, you know what I mean, like being able to share that with people off reservation, or like what I mean, like other native people, is, I don't know, it feels like it feels like I'm not working when I'm doing, you know what I mean, like it's just like it's straight up the most rewarding employment I've ever had in my life, and it's like corny, you know what I'm saying, like it's corny to say that, but like straight up, like it's tight. I love my job.
No, talking about this the other day. Like somebody asked me to be an MC at an event, right? And that was my job for the day. Like I didn't like it felt like it just joking with people, having fun, making connections, making sure people are safe, feel safe. You know what I mean? It like I don't know. Like you said, it just feels corny, but it just like feels amazing, like cool.
Straight up.
And like
Straight
to
up.
take money for doing that is like it feels like weird as fuck.
Right. It's straight up. And like, like I don't know. It's so funny because it does feel corny, but like, like when I go on like, I like have to go and see how, like everything goes, like all the processes to releasing, doing like a salmon release in the river so that we can like bolster our salmon number returns, and like going to see all these processes, I feel like I'm like going on adult field trips all the time. You know what I mean? Just like I just pack a little lunch and like I go on a field trip, and then and then when I'm done, I put a video about it together. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, wow, that was a lot of fun. Like, I don't know, like, shit cracks me up, but like it's so cool, man. Like and like being able to see like the intricacies that go into these processes. Like it's like I would have never thought that so much goes into it. You know what I mean? They're like,
Well, think about it. You're out, you're hiking, you're eating outside, you're like your mental health just like just you know what I mean? You're probably getting like super such natural like serotonin in your brain, you know what I mean? Like so that shit is dope. Like to be
yeah,
able to like sit back and like, whoa, that was my job. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
yeah,
That's amazing. Cause like that's just how the answers did it like days ago.
right, dude. And like like when I was younger, like I had cancer, and like I was, like did like gang shit, you know what I mean? And so like going from that, you know what I mean? And going from all of that to where I'm at right now, like, you know what I mean? Like living, you know what I mean? Like living with my people and like with this community, like it's definitely not lost on me how much, like how much of a blessing it is. You know what I mean? Just like, we were dirt poor. I was homeless at one point, you know what I mean? So it's like, it, like going there was a fucking crazy hill for a while. You know what I mean? So like getting up to where I'm, like getting to go on these adult field trips to like take these, and like get these stories and like share them with people, is it's crazy, dude. It's
Yeah,
nuts.
dude. And because I work with a nonprofit and I work in the schools, right? And some days it's tough. Some of the kids, they don't want to be in school. We're having to tell them like sit down. You know what I mean? They don't want to fucking sit down. Like I was
Yeah,
that kid. Like I'm not trying to do that. And then there's other days that are just like that was one of the funnest days I've ever had.
straight.
Like played sports, like taught them stuff, and they're like all just like so, they want to learn it. You know what I mean? So it's like it's a trip on like what a lot of indigenous people are like putting themselves in positions to do now. like you said, you're working to like do these salmon things. A lot of you've seen a lot of people like indigenous people as like doctors, teachers, all this shit, and like it like a lot of cool ass looking people being teachers and shit nowadays.
It's crazy. And like, like I applied for this job because I did manual labor most of my life. You know what I mean? Like, um, so I applied for this job at like a warehouse. You know what I mean? And they told me that I couldn't work there because like, I have too many like tattoos and like,
Oh
you know
fuck.
what I mean? And like, it was crazy to me. I was just like, you know what I mean? Like for a warehouse job, like, what I mean? Like, I just got done managing, like I was a production manager at a warehouse for like 7 years, and now I can't even be like, you know what I mean? Like, whatever. I'm not tripping. But I feel like it was, kind of a blessing that I didn't get that job because then I ended up getting my job like working for my tribal government and like, if I was somewhere else, I probably would have missed that opportunity. But this is like straight up one of the coolest things I've ever done in my life. So,
Yeah, that 100% happened for a reason. Even
right.
though they didn't have to say you had too many tattoos, like I felt like
But
that
that's
was
crazy, right?
yeah,
Like for a warehouse job, like where,
yeah,
like I had too many tattoos for a warehouse job.
yeah. I don't fucking get that.
Tripping.
Like, yeah, but I wanted to go back to you're talking about your art, right? And then not a lot of people think that artists should be in this like native artists should just draw native shit, right?
It's true.
And I like that like your art like there's definitely a theme to it. It's like you said, like punching Nazis, saying fuck Nazis, and I really dig that. And like I don't have a question here, but I just wanted to say because like with the burn the wagon thing, like that type of like art, like I really just like fuck with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, and that was one of the craziest things. It's just like like doing art and like like I had a couple of like shows. Huge shout out to Steph Littlebird. She always puts me on, and like straight up, like I don't know where I would be
Oh
without her.
wait,
Yeah, hell yeah, that's the homie right there. Steph is super dope. But like I did some stuff, had some stuff like had some stickers and some like like a piece on reservation dogs and like just you know what I mean. But like it really all started. My wife bought me like this one little like drawing pad. It was like when we were like dead broke. You know what I mean? Like
uh-huh.
we were dead broke, and it was like a Christmas gift, and she spent like $13 on like this like art pad with some watercolors. You know what I mean? And that's like that really well. I was doing graffiti a lot like prior to this, and so like I got arrested a few times, um, and then I was just like, well, shit, I should probably chill, and then so I started like, well, they told me that if I get arrested for it again, it turned into a habitual offense, and I'll get a felony for it. So I was like, damn, I guess like, so
Can't do
like
that anymore.
pump the brakes. So she gets me this notepad or like this pad like cold pressed water paper, and like I really started getting down and like you know what I mean. Like I guess I started like developing, like my style and stuff like that. So like a lot of my very like super early stuff is all like super shitty watercolors. Like you know what I mean? Like I look back on them and was like, ah damn, that sucks. But you know what I mean? Like that's just I kind of it's just all like very I guess art is super subjective. So I mean, like you could see it and think it looks cool, but like I definitely look at it and just know where I was at when I was doing it. So like,
Yeah,
judge it more harshly or whatever. But going into, you know, everything else, like painting and then like, I was doing acrylic for a little while and like painting and then started doing digital and like, that's a lot of like my black and white stuff is digital. Um, but like there's like kind of like a stigma with digital and I understand the stigma too, especially because like I started out with painting and like you know cutting my teeth on like pen and paper or like like then like it kind of like you know I don't know takes away from like the artistic process or whatever. And like I could see that, but at the same time like for the stuff that I'm doing right now, it's more about the message, you know what I mean? Like I it's more about like the middle finger to, like systems of oppression than it is, what I mean, like the artistic express, you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
like it's
yeah.
I it's more like fuck you big government, like, you know what I mean, like than it is, like this very intricate drawing, you know what I mean? Like that's also why I keep it black and white, you know what I mean? It's just so like the message is more clear and it comes across stronger, I guess. So
No, yeah, I fuck with that. Like, yeah, you're not. I mean, I don't know how like you're if you're spending too much time on it, but the majority of the time you're spending on it is like you're saying like the fuck you part, not the like how like whatever. Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
right. And like,
Yeah,
like I still paint and I still do very intricate pieces that are, you know what I mean, like that are on canvas or they're on paper, you know what I mean? But like when I like have something pop up into my head that, like, you know what I mean, like that I feel strongly about, I just want to put that on something and then like drop it. You know what I mean? Like I just want to get that idea out of my head, fucking drop some big bold font that says what I'm thinking, and then, like put that shit up, because I feel like that's it's important for people to share those type of thoughts, especially when they're radical. You know what I mean? Like whenever I see like artists that share like radical, like thoughts, even like it's just like, I don't know. I feel like there's such like an importance in being able to express yourself, especially when it comes to like something that's off limits. You know what I mean? Like saying like free Palestine. You know what I mean? It's something that makes people uncomfortable. Specifically things that make people uncomfortable that are coming from the right place. You know what I mean? Like that is like the most powerful shit to me. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like I don't know. I don't want to keep referring to Steph, but like, like the land of fakes and like homegirls like got the two middle fingers. Like that shit is like that's important shit, dude. Like, you know what I mean? And it's like I feel like the animation style behind it really makes it more palatable. Um, you know what I mean? So like
And I like this that she goes like the Pocahontas, right? Or like the Land of Lakes. She does all like the what would you call it? Like a not a parody, but like a play on those things, right? But it's like actually
right.
like the truth, of, especially with Pocahontas, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I definitely like I want to have her on again because that was like at least when I first started like 3 years ago. This, but yeah, like art like that, I'm about because it like there's no hiding behind what you're saying, and that's the same thing
Right.
with like
Right.
I burn the wagon too, right? I'm not trying to hide behind it. I'm about like it's like saying fuck the system, like all these things, free Palestine. Like I spoke at a rally about out here in which in Port Arena, which is mostly like white dude, and I said like I did the prayer and said the free Congo, free like sending love to Palestine, Congo, and Sudan, and like the crowd kind of just like ugh.
Right, dude. And like that's the thing is like they want to hear a land acknowledgement, but they don't want to hear, you know what I mean? Like a, this is exactly what's going like in like 4 years. In like 4 years, once everything's all settled or whatever, right? It's gonna be Israel doing land acknowledgements to Palestinians. You know what I mean? And like that's fucked up, dude. Like, sure, we're gonna drive that fucking nail, to the fucking head, and we're gonna hammer the fuck out of you. But you know what we're gonna do shortly after is we're gonna be like, oh, you remember? I'm so sorry about that. But that's horseshit, dude. You know what I mean? Like that's like that. I feel like that's the most fucked up thing about like the time that we're living in right now is like, like you have, like that lady, Shiloh, whatever the fuck, out here calling like little kids the N word, and
Oh my god.
then having $650,000 raised for her to defend her family. You know what I mean? Like, fuck that, dude. Like, it's so crazy. And then like they're saying, well, it's because of this, it's because of that. Like, no, it's not. It's because you guys are fucking making a direct statement that you support her use of her chosen slurs, and like that shit, you're okay with it, and you're gonna support her financially for it. Like, fuck that, dude. Like, I don't know.
And
The
then I
the
think like the kid got a GoFundMe that put up, right, and then her fucking GoFundMe was trying to get taken down, but what really happened is his GoFundMe got taken down or some shit like that. What like you're saying,
crazy.
they're just playing into like her using that word is okay, and
Right.
him trying to like like I don't know, like speak up for himself or like you know what I mean, like also like this happened to me, you know, like it's just
Right.
being like fuck that.
Yeah. It's so strange, dude. You know, one of my first friends told me that his dad said he's not allowed to be friends with prairie N-words. You know what I mean? Like, well, first off, like I'm a Plateau Indian, so you know, like, well, you're wrong. Like, your dad's an idiot. First off, that's number one. But you know what I mean? Like that's the type of shit that like you know what I mean? Like it just doesn't go away, dude. You know what I mean? Like there's gonna be assholes that are racist, and you know, like sometimes you'll get lucky and you get to like you know knock a couple around or whatever. But most of the time they're hidden, fucking. You know what I mean? Like gonna smile in your face and then fucking stab you in the back type shit. Like racism's stupid. It's fucking ugly, and like you know, it's just it's I would rather see Nazis with swastikas on their faces than you know what I mean, like the backdoor racism fools. Because at least you can identify the Nazis with swastikas on their faces, right? Like
Yeah.
at least you know they're straight up going to be racist. Like they're not going to subvert, you know what I mean? Like they're not gonna do everything they can to close a door in front of you.
Yeah.
Uh,
Have you seen Sinners yet?
I I have seen Sinners, yes.
You
Kind of.
saying that
It's
made me think of that scene with the Choctaw coming to the door.
right. Yeah. This it's just they're going to that's it's just like sneaky racism is the worst, dude. Like I would rather my Nazis be identifiable. You know what I mean? Like it's so much easier. It's like, you know, and
Because you
like
know
you
who your
can't
enemy is.
yeah, exactly. And so you're not even shocked when they call you a slur. You're just like, sure, like, oh, you mean the guy with the swastika on his face calling me a slur? Like, obviously, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
like, these other guys are, you know, they can't wait to get home and get on the internet and fucking send me five fucking messages back to back about how they hate my no one is illegal on stolen land fucking picture. You know what I mean? Like it's all day, dude. Like they just like hit me up on like burner accounts with no, you know, like no photo and just like talk shit, talk about how they're gonna find me and fuck me up. Somebody sent me my address and I was just like, okay. You know, like, yeah, I live there. You know what I mean? Like yeah, I put it on all my shit that I ship out, but like it's not a secret. Like fuck you. Um, you know,
But
it's just corny, dude.
yeah, dude. But talking about fucking punching Nazis in the face. Um, and like I like to ask this to everybody. I have a couple of questions I like to ask everybody, but like what does land back mean to you? Because like everybody has their own version, and like how do we keep if when we get those land backs, how do we even fucking keep them? Because like a lot of us don't have the literacy, like the literacy to like keep that land. Like a lot of us like let people come in take it again with like their legal fucking papers, you know. So
I think for me personally, I think one of the biggest correlations between like native land for me is that more so that we belong to the land, right? And so like by belonging to the land, that's like this is the land that I belong to because this is where I'm from.
hmm
These are my ancestral homelands, and so nobody can really take it away from me at that point. And um, like the land back movement, I really feel is like it's such a I don't know like coming from a place that was like like originally trying to get land that was like stolen or like sold with zero permission by the tribes and like getting that land back into our fold. I'm working for tribal government. I'm able to see that all the time where you know what I mean, like purchasing land and then like putting it into like tribal trust and you know what I mean, like regaining like these like these parcels of land, but I feel like on a more radical side, the land back movement, I really feel like encompasses so much more than just like, like the quantifiable amount of land that we're actually getting back, and more so encompasses more to like the emotional, you know what I mean, uh, like nuances behind it. You know what I mean? So like being able to stand up in the face of, like water cannons at the no dapple, being able to march for, you know what I mean, like for MMIP, and you know what I mean, like these are all forms of that to me. Just because like, like it's all kind of part of like the AIM movement. You know what I mean, like, and these are just different forks. You know what I mean, like I feel like they're all different branches of the same tree, really, and like it it all works towards, like trying to retain and expand on, like our rights, our treaty rights, our freedoms as Native people, our ability to, find justice for our missing and murdered Indigenous relatives, and like, you know what I mean, like it really, there's so many different aspects to, like the hardships that come with our community, right? And then like a lot of this is really just trying to regain some of those losses, you know what I mean? And so I feel like land back is about regaining that loss, you know what I mean? That loss that we've had in our community, and like really, really finding, some meaning, or I don't know. I feel like it adds so much, or it helps people find meaning. You know what I mean? Like it gives somebody something to stand on, or a reason to get involved with, like being radical. So
Yeah.
um any reason to anything that gives somebody a reason to do radical things in the right way, coming from the right place, is very important. And so like, like it's great to see, and like I don't know, I love like seeing the activists that are willing to put it all on the line to protect their community. You know what I mean? Like, and like you see it time and time again in our community of people, just what colonial America would deem as like the lowest of us. You know what I mean? Like, like from black people, Mexican, native, like, you know what I mean? Like seeing our communities come together and like really, stand up for something is it's it's almost like emotional. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy, dude. And like seeing it happen more often these days is you know it's amazing. And like they're fighting racism, like, like I fought racism, but like I feel like fighting racism was different for me because I was able to put a name on, you know what I mean? I was like
Mhm.
dude from East Side White Pride, or you know what I mean,
Yeah.
like it was like gangs, it was like white powered gangs, and so you're able to put a face to a name, you know what I mean? But like the rallies and the marches, and like like standing up for people, like you're fighting racism that has no face or no name, you know what I mean? Like it's just the ever present, like lingering racism that the world has to face, and just trying to make a dent in it. So like that's my favorite shit to see.
Yeah, I love all the fucking unity, man. Like against these racist type shit. Yeah, I'm all about it. And also when we get certain like land, when people are able to reconnect with certain land and certain places on this earth, like you're saying, like your traditional lands, there's certain things that you're able to connect to, like for basket weaving, like gathering those plants, right, or just like because when people gather, they have to like do certain things to take those things, right? So like um just remodeling those areas, right? You know what I mean? So and that goes in, like you were saying, goes into your mental health, being able to like be in touch with that land. Like so much goes, it's like so much bigger than just getting land back. Like you're
It,
saying, you know what I mean?
yeah,
It's a whole like it's a whole healing process for a whole people.
that's that's like one of my favorite things to think about during like the summer. If I'm just like laying out somewhere, you know what I mean? Like just laying out there looking at the stars in like, like under like undeveloped areas of like our reservation and just being like, you know what I mean? Like somebody was doing this exact same thing, you know what I'm saying? Like 4,000 years ago, you know what I'm saying? Just like chilling, looking at the stars, like, damn, this is great. And like being in that same place, where I know that my ancestors were, it's such a crazy feeling, you know what I mean? Like
No,
specifically I ate mushrooms one time and I went down that trip and I was just like, God damn, you know what I mean? Like,
no having to worry about rent, no having to
yeah.
fucking worry about
Oh
whatever
yeah, dude.
car payment, insurance, like you know what I mean?
Right, yeah. It's so crazy to me. But like one of my favorite things to think about and then like try and connect with, you know what I mean? Like, because I feel like if when you really think on something like that, you can really connect with that moment. You know what I mean? And like it just kind of strengthens that connection to your ancestral homelands so
Yeah. And this next one, I loved just like seeing everyone's like perspective on what they would tell their younger self. So like what I always like to ask, what would you ask or what would you tell, what advice would you give to your younger self? So what advice would you give to that kid sitting in front of that 7-Eleven with the dead prez, nail polish, what was it? You said
dead Kennedys.
yeah, dead
Dead
Kennedy,
Kennedys. Yeah, dead Kennedys
dead
patch.
presidents.
Yeah. Dead Presidents is a cool movie though. You know what? I that story I told you, I honestly like I feel like in a weird way that I did meet my 13-year-old self. You know what I mean? Like meeting like this 40 something year old native
Oh
skinhead
yeah.
dude. You know what I mean? Like meeting that guy and hearing what he had to tell me, like really, I feel like if I were to meet myself, I would probably tell myself the same shit. You know what I mean? Like, hey, like maybe, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like that was such like a integral moment for myself as like a young punk rocker, like meeting like this dude that's, spent years fighting racism and like, you know what I mean? Like, and then growing up and then being that guy. You know what I mean? Like I didn't even think that I was gonna be that guy when I was that kid. You know what I mean? Like so just kind of turning into that guy over time and just like, having like this entire I don't know, like history, you know what I mean? Like that I had and like coming through all of that, I don't think there's anything I would change. You know what I mean? Like I feel like all of it really helped shape me to be who I am. And like, like as far as regrets, everybody has regrets. You know what I mean? Like everybody's gonna have something that they wish that they had done differently, or like, like a situation that was handled differently. But like, if one thing I've found is like, like living on that, and like only thinking about that stuff, or like puts you in a weird place. You know what I mean? Like with yourself. If you're not able to accept mistakes and like, you know what I mean, like really learn from them, then you're just going to keep making them and you're just going to put yourself into this weird holding pattern of just like being in the same spot. You know what I mean? So you
Yeah.
can't let go, you can't learn from it. You're just going to keep digging that hole. So uh I guess if I met myself when I'd tell myself to stop digging holes so hard. You know what I mean? Like that took me a little while to figure out. So I'd probably
Dude,
tell myself to stop digging such deep holes.
what if you did meet like some fucking future self on shrooms, dude, just coming back?
Straight up, dude. Like it's so strange. It's such a strange thing to think about. It's
I
like,
mean, yeah, I keep seeing like random videos of time travelers popping up on my feed like lately, and I'm like, dude, you never know, man. I don't fucking
right?
know.
Hold on, I gotta let my dog in. He's tripping. Come on.
Oh, hi, puppers.
That's Murphy.
Hi,
Oh
Murphy.
my God. All right, get down.
Yeah. So honestly, like at this point, if there's anything that I didn't bring up, or any shout outs that you want to give, or any just like topics, or yeah, just any whatever you feel like sharing right now at this point in time, this is your
Oh
spot.
man. Phew. You know what? I feel like this has been like such an easy conversation to have. You know what I mean? Like um there wasn't like a, you know what I mean, like that weird silence, or like, you know what I mean, like no questions kind of came to like an abrupt yes. And then just sit there quietly, you know what I mean? Like I don't know. When I do like interviews for people, you know what I mean? Like some of the hardest stuff is like, you know, like you have like prompted questions, and it's like, okay, so these are the questions I'm going to ask you. And then like when you ask them the question, then they're like, that's not how that is. And then they just stop, and it's just like, well, maybe,
Right.
right, dude. Um, but no, so I mean, like, thanks for having me, dude. And like, honestly, it was super super easy to like sit here and talk with you, and like that's super dope. Um, can't wait to see what you have going on next year. But that was great. Give a shout out to my kids, of course. Pow, you know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
Like, uh, shit.
Shout out to Murphy.
Yeah, shout out to Murphy. Free Palestine. Fuck you guys. Um, and yeah, dude. If I don't know, I think that's it, man.
You're in Portland area.
Well, I live in Pendleton now, so it's like 200 miles from Portland. Um, so I lived in Portland just up until 3 years ago. We moved home. Um, but I get to do the coolest drive anytime I go to Portland.
Hell yeah.
The Columbia River Gorge is like one of the most beautiful places I've ever seen in my life. Specifically, like right around spring, it's so green, and like it looks like a tropical place. It's crazy as hell. And
That's
then in the fall, everything turns like orange and bright red and yellow, and like you got the whole Columbia River with you the entire way. It's super sick. It's my
hell
favorite
yeah.
drive.
I might be up there. I'm gonna be up there during the summer. Hope maybe I'll be able to like there'll be something going on like
Yeah,
powwow
hey,
wise, and I'll be able to pop out there.
if you're around July, the first week of July, there's the big wild horse powwow out here on our reservation. One of my favorite ones of the year, actually. So,
I am gonna be.
you,
That's when I'm doing my road trip. So
yeah, dude, you should hit Pendleton because that's I'm putting up I have a teepee, so I'm putting up the teepee, make it Airbnb style for some of the homies to come into town. So,
hell yeah.
yeah, dude, hit me up. Let me know.
I will definitely.
All right, man.
All
Thank
right.
you.
I'm gonna